All right, we are live this morning with some new software, number one. Number two, I am thankful for my good friend Jake Ascher being here today. I know he has got some things going on. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes, but welcome to the PCS Nation Facebook Live show. I want to talk a little bit about what PCS Nation is real quick for those of you who have not seen the show. But please share this with anybody, number one. You won't regret it. We're trying to share as much information as we can for our active military community to give them all the resources that they need to help their military and PCS moves easier and a little more stress-free. We know we can't take all the stress out of it, but we're going to try as best as we can. And it's not just about the lending world or the real estate world. We want to promote military spouse businesses. We want to promote anything that can help our military community succeed. So you can find us on the PCS Never Quits Nation Facebook page, which is on here. You'll click the link on the bottom of the screen with the ticker flowing there, kind of like the stock market. It's kind of cool. Testing out some new stuff. But all right, now to the good stuff. My guest today is Jake Ascher. Jake is a real estate agent with Veterans Realty Group. Jake is also kind of my neighbor. That's Texas neighbor. A couple of towns over, right? That's Texas neighbor.
Yeah.
But Jake has been in the National Guard for 19, or are you in your 20th now?
Yeah, I'm 6 months, then I get my letter. So
wow, good for you. You're old man. You're going to retire here pretty soon.
I am. Yeah, getting there.
But no, Jake is in the National Guard, and so he does that as well. Also, kicks ass as a real estate agent, helping his brothers and sisters with those PCS moves, and also our veterans out there. So, Jake, welcome.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it, Jason. Good to talk to you as always.
Yeah, I love it, man. Thanks for taking your time. I know you're out and about, and we won't get too in depth in that, but if you want to share that, you can. But, tell the folks out there watching just a little bit about you, your journey through the military, what led you into the real estate game.
So I've been interested in real estate for years. About 10 years ago, we started investing in property. It obviously 2008 and 9 property became real cheap, and we invested. I came from a banking industry background. We noticed a lot of people walking away from houses. We got into that, and I was like, my career is coming towards an end in the military, and how can I reach further after retirement and still, serve? It's part of serving others more or less. So I was able to make the change over into real estate several years ago, and haven't looked back since.
Right. So. Well, and it's as the more either military spouses or active military members who are transitioning either out of service or in Guard or Reserve, looking for that tie together where they can still serve that purpose. They can serve people who share the same values, who share the same mentality. Yes. As far as a higher calling, so to speak.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I kind of see that a little bit with that. So talk about how your service has led you kind of into that, the things that you've learned while in your military service that carry over into real estate.
Yeah, so PCS moves, that's huge, right? It's a very condensed time period. You have to have all your ducks in a row. As a soldier PCSing, and then therefore real estate agents and lenders need to have that understanding. And I think that's critical. We're talking most of it is virtual. So the transition into COVID environment was the same thing we were doing 2, 3, 4 years ago with PCS clients. It's right. A lot of things virtual. People have to be decisive. You have to be on your game. You have a condensed window of time to utilize, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I'm gaining more traction on with this when I'm having these conversations with people like you all around the country in all kinds of different markets is obviously every market is different. Every, economic environment, what's normal here in Dallas, Fort Worth may not be normal in Oklahoma City, or may not be normal in, out in Hampton Roads or in Florida or places like that. Talk a little bit about the market as it sits right now for people who are out. Has your business changed during COVID? Has it gotten busier? Have you seen an uptick in your veteran buyers, your active military buyers looking, because they may not be affected by some of the things that our civilian clients might be affected by?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jason. I mean, number one is affecting income. Obviously, we have a huge unemployment issue like today, but that's not really applicable for veteran clients. So the only thing I'm seeing is we're on pause, and we're just communicating with all those PCS clients. And I mean, they're still actively looking. They just know when it turns on, it's going to turn on. And for me, I mean, I don't speak for everybody in North Texas, but since May 1st, I mean, we've been off the chain. Like, it's unbelievable. I'm seeing pent up demand where April, may have been a little bit concerned about people coming off the tables, buyers and sellers, like, pause, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Figuring it out, and now we're moving forward.
Is it affecting the offers that you guys are making, for clients? I mean, are sellers, what's that look like? Is it flipped to a buyer's market? Is it still in that seller's market? I mean, what's that dynamic look like?
Well, I think March and April, we got away with some stuff, like as far as leverage, because there might not have been so many buyers, and some that we put into contract. They might not have been PCS because PCS halted, but I have plenty of vet clients move into contract that, like, we're the only one,
Right.
So, like, whereas this price point might have had 2-3 offers, in January. So I think for buyers, we got a little bit of help there. And in listing, from the listing side, like, we got one offer that's better than none, and a lot of people were on hold. So I think there's a big benefit there.
Are you seeing more now? And I know that based on the last traffic that I saw from the DOD, as far as those exceptions to the stop movement orders, like people PCSing into the Joint Reserve Base here in Fort Worth. Have you started to see that kind of loosen up just a little bit, coming from Miramar and places like that?
Yeah, we had one in April that he's National Guard soldier, AGR, active guard, and he was able to get an exception to policy, and we moved him. We closed that one, I believe, April 24th. So it was one of those deals that enough people and you get it up the right chain, things happen, and it was got movers, everything out. We were on the listing side, but let's
talk about that just a little bit. When they're coming in from other places, what are some of the things that you do to help them make that transition a little bit easier?
Well, first and foremost, if I have any resources, we really so the process is we look at areas as a whole. And once we start getting comfortable with a certain area, then we get in the weeds on houses in particular. But because they're generally out of state, or at least a long ways, Texas is a big state, we start doing that all up front. And so I give them as many resources they want. They think where they might want to live. Okay, great. And let's look at school ratings. Let's look at strategically where you're going to be and how far you got to drive from work, and spousal work, at any of those things. We line up the geographics first before we get into actual specifics on homes. They'll give me details what they'd like to see, of course, but we really got to hone in geographically first.
Yeah. So part of what I do, and I know you know this because we do business together, but is during those borrower consults, we will spend as much time on logistics of resources like you talked about, whether it's for the kids, for themselves, work, military spouse transitioning and to a different place, trying to start over, as we do the numbers, is the benefit itself. Because what I have found is that is one of the biggest sources of frustration and uneasiness in their process, is I don't know anything about the area that I'm moving to.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can help eliminate some of that to a degree, you can't take stress out of the entire process.
That's right. You can minimize it.
I've seen some things out there where people will say we make it stress-free. Well, that's a crock of shit. You can't. There's no such thing as stress-free.
Yeah.
When you don't know where you're going, when you don't have any friends there, when you don't know anybody. And most of the time, and you can elaborate on this when you're talking about you're showing houses to them through FaceTime. You've never laid eyes on them. You've never met them. You never really looked that person in the eye. And, and that, talk a little bit about that process. What does some of that look like for you when you go through that?
Yeah. So that's a really good point. I mean, a lot of these people, I will meet them for the first time at a house that we're already in contract with. So, and a lot of times that happens. So at the end of the day, our buyer consultation, it has been virtual for a long period of time. And we go through all of the costs and what they're looking at and what, the benefit that they're entitled to and how we use it.
Right.
But that's the first, Zoom conference is the first thing that we do. And then from there, are doing a lot of FaceTiming for when we get into the houses. And again, a lot of times these folks have to be decisive. If they can get down here, they will. But if they can't, plenty of people have pulled the trigger. And, it's my job to look over that house extremely well, documentation, disclosures, those kind of things. So you have to be really specific about those things because they can't walk the house.
So I would say it's probably a fair statement that, you have to build a deep trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over the phone so they can in turn trust you with where they're going to be literally sight unseen until their TMO shows up and they're unloading a truck.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, it does take a lot of trust. And I think, going back to my experience with the military and being active duty at a certain point and understanding these moves and how they work, I don't know, I feel I can relate with them. And it's definitely helped. And again, I know what they need. They need resources. They need schools data. They need, anything in regards to the base. There's a lot of online information about JRB, if that's what we're looking at, or wherever they're going to. I have that stuff set up. They get this VA buyer package essentially, and we can move forward.
Well, and that's, so we talk a lot about strategic partnerships. Right. Obviously there's a lot of lenders out there. There's a lot of real estate agents. There's a lot of title companies. There's a lot of, not just that, but even when you're getting down to your inspectors, right? Your inspector termites and plumbing and roof and all that kind of stuff. And what I have found is the more strategic partnerships we can make between lender, real estate agent, and then the inspectors that we have in our arsenal, so to speak, that we know that understand this, that work the same way we work, that have the same mentality. Because what I tell people, and you can attest to this, is that the government doesn't care about your timeline.
Correct.
When they're moving somebody, when you got your no later report date, you got to be there by that. Otherwise, you're going to be in a hotel.
No matter the mountains you have to climb to get there.
Right. Yeah. So it's so vitally important. And for people that are watching this, I want you to understand something, is that strategic partnerships, not just in our business between Jake and I, because obviously we do business together, but anybody out there, the one thing that I will implore you to do is build strategic partnerships, because I have seen absolute train wrecks when it comes to this process without having that. Guys and gals who do not understand the urgency that is required, but also the certainty that's required.
Yes.
Who you do business with matters. I say that all the time. I put it in all my social media stuff, because that's the drum that we have to beat nowadays. Because when they choose you, they get that. They get somebody who's been there. They get somebody who knows what's going on, and a strategic partner. Right.
And there's so many ways to there's pricing and there's terms. And with those strategic partnerships, me working with you on the front end on lending, if we can pre-underwrite something,
Mm-hmm.
we can look a lot more favorable against other offers as a VA. My partnership with home inspectors, they know like day one out of the gate, day one is inspection, day two is report.
Yep.
So we can utilize a 4 or 5 day option. Like
Right.
we can be aggressive if you do the work up front. And that's what we do. It's there's pricing and terms.
Right.
So that's why these partnerships are so
Well, I think
important.
that's a huge point, because so many people these days get hung up on one particular thing.
Yeah.
They're rate shoppers, which, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
rate is important.
Yeah.
But
To a
getting to
degree.
the closing table on time is important too.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
having a miserable experience is important too.
And assuring a listing agent we can come through in less than 30 days. Like
Right.
I see 45-day stuff and it blows my mind.
So
Like
let's talk about that for a second. I'm glad you brought that up. Are you seeing in your chatter and your traffic and on the real estate side, are you seeing more and more of that from different lenders that are requiring 45 days? I heard 137 days. I'm like, I don't know where that came from, but
yeah.
it's pretty specific.
I had a 45 last week, and I was like, look, you have a choice in your lender. So, I mean, there are choices I can give you to choose from, but I can tell you in Texas at $200,000, we're not getting a 45-day contract.
No.
It's not happening.
No. And I get more and more of that. I'm having people call me going, man, they're not accepting offers. Well, how many days are in the contract? 45. Well, they don't have to.
Yeah, they will
There are
not.
more choices out there.
Yeah. On the listing side, that looks ugly. Like
Well,
that, and again, like that means you're not doing the pre-work, like
Yeah.
did you try and do the pre-underwrite, like those things. So if you're not doing that,
when you're working with particular lenders that may take that long, and that may be how long they take. It is what it is.
yeah.
But there are other options out there. I mean, for now, and I'm going to say this, but at Benchmark, through all this COVID nonsense, right? All the things that changed and all the ups and downs in the market and all the margin calls and all these things that we went through as a company, we still maintain 24 to 48 hour underwrites. We still maintain 30 days or less in closings. Our rates didn't go haywire. Our leadership, and you've met Stuart, at Boot Shoot and Chad and a lot of our leadership, we didn't take the chicken little, the sky is falling mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw a lot of that, not only on the lending side, but I saw it on the real estate side. Like, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, and it was just business as usual. Doesn't mean it didn't affect us, but we adapted. And I know this is kind of where you and I align, is that who we do business with and how we partner, and conversations that you and I have probably once a week on market data. What can we do to improve? Those things like that mean as much to our business because it means everything to our clients.
Yes.
Fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, as we kind of roll through this COVID thing, I want your opinion on where do you see the market going in Dallas-Fort Worth as we come on the tail end of the COVID thing?
I mean, so there's really kind of two pools here. There's like there is a big question of unemployment. Unemployment
Right.
directly relates to real estate. So I do understand that. I do understand listings were down in April year over year. Inventory is about the same though, and we're short inventory. North Texas, 3.3 months. Like that's not even quite a what's perceived as normal market yet. So
what is normal in that range?
I mean, this is a national statistic, so you have to be careful about that. But
Right.
6 months generally, 6 months inventory is what's considered a balanced market. So
are we higher than
year over year,
3.3? Are we higher than we have been at 3.3 here in DFW, or is that?
I mean, last year, April 2019, we're at 3.6 months. So technically speaking, inventory's down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we got to kind of take it 1 month at a time in looking at this. But I experienced in my business a lot of pause in March and April. And my understanding and my belief is that this is since May 1st, I had some stale stuff that's just kind of gone off the charts. So
Right.
people feel, more comfortable. There's a lot of testing going on. So I think that's important.
Yeah. So, I mean, my opinion on that with the market watch is I think Dallas Fort Worth is unique. We are very strong here based on industry.
Very, very,
So I
very
think
strong.
that has a big driver. A lot of veterans move to the state of Texas because we are very veteran friendly. Texas Veterans Land Board.
Yes.
Obviously, that's ran by George Bush's son. We have the Texas Veterans Commission. We have all of these things, not to mention the property tax exemptions, not just for 10% disabled vets, but from 10% all the way up. They get some off that. And you know what? I mean, Texas, let's call it what it is. I mean, it's patriotic. I mean,
it is.
It's cool to live here, man. We're gun-toting, Second Amendment loving people. And so I think you're going to see an influx of that because I think Chad gave me a stat. There are like 1,300 military members exiting service a week. A week.
That's incredible.
So, they got to go somewhere. Let them go back to their home of record, right? They go home no matter where that might be. But a lot of them are doing their research and finding where those veteran-friendly states are. So finding, being prepared, operational preparedness, right? We're going to be ready for that influx, not only to stop movement does, but to handle the amount of retiring or exiting military we talked about this a little bit this morning before we got on here about being recession proof.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Recession proof income, right? I mean, disability, retirement income, that doesn't fluctuate with the market.
It doesn't. And so that's where we're kind of at a business as usual for the most part. The only difference would be, some of them that cannot PCS quite yet. But then again, I see pent up demand. So when that stop loss comes up, I mean, it's going to be moved quickly. So we're
some of the things that we're doing and where we can help you and buyers out there. We're going to create, we've got active military buyers that, or, Guard or Reserve that are going to be coming here to the JRB, or even veterans for that matter. We're going to make a promise to them that we are going to put them in the best position to win an offer. And if that includes literally having their loan underwritten before they make an offer, so we can communicate to that listing agent, hey, this loan is underwritten. They are fully approved. Only thing we are waiting on literally is homeowners insurance and appraisal and title.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If that offer does, I mean, I don't know what else to do to put their offer at the top of the pile. But to me, we are committed to them. We're certainty. It's 100%. And when we say this thing's going to close, it's going to close.
Yep. Yep.
So,
and it's part of our job too. This is why I like working with you is you have no issues reaching out to the listing agent, and so that not all listing agents completely understand how this stuff works. So it's part of my job to educate them, offer your guidance as well. And we're getting a lot of stuff accepted. Again, there's price and there's terms, and terms are powerful in a VA offer.
Yeah,
they are.
That's a great point, because in like you said, in as we get a little closer to the end of our time here, who you do business with matters, and I can't say it enough. And even if it's not me, do your research, figure out who is, ask the right questions, but rely on the people who do this for a living. And you've built that trust and rapport with, because there are a lot of tragedies that I see happening in this transaction because people get hung up on the wrong things.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I mean, so me and in my little group too, with Derek and Christina, we are all very well versed on how this process goes. And that is our number one driver is if you don't understand how this works, there's no way you can actually,
so let's end this on this. Talk about your team for a minute. Talk about Derek and Christina, Derek Curtis a little bit, and then and then tell to the good folks out there on Facebook where they can find you.
Yeah, so Christina Velasquez, she's been my assistant for over a year now, and she does from listing coordination to buyer's contract. She's the one, there's 32 ways out of a contract in Texas, and we know all of them. Okay. So understanding timelines and keeping all that moving forward, super critical. And then Derek, he's an outstanding agent partner. He's a third bat ranger, retired, just a solid, team member. He's always got your six. He's helping me while I'm out, doing this activation, and the ball's moving forward with everything. Everything stays the same. I continue the Zoom conferences. The commander I'm working with gives me, we've got leave we have to take while we're here. So we're doing that and doing the conference, and Derek's covering down, and Christina's got all contracts. So we continue to move forward, but I can't do this by myself, so I think that's what's important, that the team, that clients understand too. It's not just one person. I mean, with you and Laura and your marketing team, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. Yep, I agree with you. So tell the fine folks out there where they can find Jake Ascher and his team.
You can find me all over Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, jakeascher.com. And I'm easy to find, easy to get a hold of. And again, veterans, 68% of the business. Okay. And so I take that very seriously. I know you do. That's why we work together. Yep. And again, it's all about service to the veterans and what they're trying to do, because they, again, like you said before, the government doesn't necessarily care about how this is going to go down. You're going to be here at this time, and that's the way it's going to be. So we help them achieve that.
Yeah. And that's what's, we all have the same goals, and, that's what's important to us, is those partnerships, those relationships long into the future. So thanks for being on today, man. I know you're busy out there. Matt, you said you were activated and helping with the COVID initiative here in Texas. And so I appreciate your time. I know you're super busy and you got a lot of things going on, but, coming over to the PCS Never Quits Nation Facebook page, we'd love to have you over there. If you're an active duty military member out there and you want to get the resources and get your questions answered and feel comfortable with what you're doing, it's a great place to get that done. We'll share that in the comments on the video, and we will be back next week with another great guest. Jake, thanks again, man, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. Have a great one.
You too, buddy.